everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today at RG Podcast. This is Isaiah Diesel. I'm calling with Adam. Where are you calling out of, Adam?
Plymouth, UK.
And we got a very special guest, Lucas Pouplin, Olympian from Argentina.
Living in Bakersfield, California.
Yeah. Hey, Lucas, can you hablo español?
Claro que sí.
My sister actually went to Argentina for a mission trip when she was 16, and she brought back some mate. You like the mate?
Our native drink, for sure.
Right.
It's an herb drink. Yeah, it's a tea.
Yeah.
Yep. Energy. It's awesome.
Well, you know, they love tea in Britain. So have you ever had a mate, Adam?
No, never.
So
about as adventurous I've been as a frappe, mate. Actually, it's better.
All right. And how long have you been in America for, Lucas?
Since I was 5 years old, and now I'm about to turn 45, so I'm almost 40 years.
Wow, 45 years old, and you just became a grandfather, so congratulations.
I did. My daughter made me grandpa. It's an amazing story. We just reunited. She is 23. She's amazing. It's like looking at myself in the mirror. She just delivered a beautiful baby boy.
Wow.
This March. So
Congratulations.
she's, yeah, definitely awesome. Thank you so much. She is 2 months into being a mother. So
wow.
It's phenomenal.
Lucas, Adam's wife is getting ready to pop here, so he's going to be a father for the third time. Adam?
Three times. Yep.
3 times. Awesome.
Yep.
He has the estrogen overload in his household because I think he's outnumbered. He's going to be outnumbered 4-1. Is that right?
Totally. Yeah. Story of my life, guys. Story of my life.
Oh, Big Daddy.
So, Lucas, we want to ask you a little bit about your background and about your journey to being in the Olympics and your journey through recovery. Because I think you have one of the most amazing stories that I think I've ever heard. I was just telling Adam that, recently the royal family, who is it, William, who left the royal family? And I was telling him how unimpressed.
Harry.
And I was just telling him how unimpressed I am by people who have everything handed to them and don't have to fight and struggle for things. But I think when I heard your story, it just kind of like the epitome of overcoming the odds and, succeeding. So would you mind giving us a little background about your story?
So where I'm at today is completely different where I was when I was 20. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now I represent an entire country in a sport, which is phenomenal for me. It's an opportunity for me to express the athletic side of me and my ambitions. So it's an extension of who I am through my sport, which is awesome to be on that level, on that platform. It definitely is an honor and it definitely is a blessing. So for me, I started off always competing against my brothers growing up. We were from Argentina. I have two brothers. And so we grew up always trying to outdo each other, who's fastest in everything we did. So which was really cool. I'm there. Guys, I beat you. So anyhow, so growing up and whatnot, just being competitive with them just kind of just sharpens you, so for me, I use that to fuel me, and you get molded and you get shaped in a certain way. And for me, it's always been that way, to always achieve success. My mother is my hero. She's definitely one of my biggest influencers, and the reason being is because that woman perseveres,
Yeah.
determination like no one else. I actually met one person like her now, which at this stage of my life, I'm lucky to know. And I think you met her, Isaiah, which is Renee. same spirit, you know, just a fighter, you know,
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
go and, which is awesome. So I learned this about everything is never give up. You know, you just got to just push through. So, I'm going to just interject some things. I hope it's, you know, not too far from my direction in the conversation, but, so in luge, I'm known for being not only the oldest guy doing the sport, okay, but
Wow.
history, being the oldest guy who's not just the oldest guy, but an athlete that's never really crashed. I've never crashed and lost my sled, which is phenomenal in the sport because you're going 90 miles an hour, you know, typically going 80 to 90 miles an hour on average. So
That's crazy.
Every aspect of your run. So you're driving and it's not like, hey, I can just cruise and take my hands off the wheel. You know, you got to be laser focused. It's insane. And we'll get into that for sure. But I get into the most hairiest situations, right? Where you're almost about to kill yourself and you somehow manage to pull it through and keep going. So, and in Europe, everybody calls me Luca, you know, and that's my Italian name is Luca. And so we made famous Luca never die. That's hashtag that everybody has, and all the Olympic athletes actually write that down, and it's in the start, and it's on their equipment. Luca never die, and it's a spirit, you know. So it's not just all about me, right? It's about, hey, you got to have the spirit, and people qualified to the games by never dying, which means that, hey, look, that some athletes actually, you know, finished that run, and that run made them qualify to the games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's a point count, etc. But whatnot. But it's interesting and it's phenomenal to know that if you don't give up, you make it. You know, some athletes just like, hey, they bail out and they say, hey, okay, I'm done with that run. They don't finish, they don't complete, they don't get the points, they don't get to advance.
Yeah, speaking of dying, there was a guy, I think from Bulgaria or Bosnia, that he actually died.
Yeah, so in Whistler, in the Olympics in Whistler, and on the training runs, which we can definitely pay tribute to that. Phenomenal athlete. Actually was a seasoned athlete, just had one bad run. You know, it was a great run, and at the end in the Whistler track, actually had an accident. Mm-hmm. You know, it was a freak accident. You know, it doesn't happen all the time. So they had to lower the starts. You know, like, hey, too fast. And Whistler is one of the fastest tracks in the world. And everything is designed for safety. You know, you're pushing the limits, of course, but it's, you know, who knows what if you drive your car and all of a sudden you're driving straight and turn your wheel, there's going to be something unlikely to happen. Correct. Mm-hmm. So, he had that situation happen at the very end. It's lost control. And excellent run beforehand, from what I understand. I don't know all the particulars. Me personally, I don't like to watch anything that's negative because it influences me. So I'm like, dude, I only watch positive things. You know, I don't want to look into crashes. I never watch crashes. I don't look into that. I don't want to hear any bad stories because that's what sticks out in your mind.
Wow. Well, you'll love this podcast then, because we talk about.
Awesome.
I'm Christian, and Adam is an atheist. And were you like raised Catholic or?
I was raised Catholic. Yeah. So I grew up Catholic, and with, you know, the values and whatnot of, hey, always doing the right thing. You know, so it wasn't religious in the sense of, I mean, we did the formalities. We went to church and stuff like that on Sundays. I mean, we grew out of that, but still with the values of always doing the right thing, you know? So, grew up in that. And then, for me, it's all about, service to others, you know, now, you know, and so whatever religion you want to call that. And I think every religion is based on that. I don't like to impose myself on anyone.
Right.
Is utmost the most valuable thing and most important for anyone to develop in spiritual journey. You know, I'm more spiritual than I am religious.
I totally agree. I totally agree,
Adam,
Lucas.
Yeah.
Totally agree. I'm a bit like you in the sense that I don't think an overall sort of religion, you need an overall religion to teach you how to treat other people. And yeah, I totally agree with where you're coming from, what you're saying. Yeah.
Adam, you want to tell us about your grandfather, and then you can ask him the question.
Yeah, my grandfather, he was a Paralympian in the '88 Seoul Olympics. He got a couple of medals, silver, bronze for shot put and discus.
Wow.
And he jumped over his garden wall to go fishing, and his neighbor had dug a pit in the garden. He didn't realize, and that was him. He was in a wheelchair for the rest of his life.
Oh.
And instead of moping around, he started working out, and a few years later, he was in Seoul Paralympics.
Right.
Oh wow, that was the reason. Wow, so that propelled him to become an Olympian. Phenomenal.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. That's a phenomenal story.
When I heard about what you do, Lucas, it was it's not in most forefront of people's minds with the Olympics, this event. So, I mean, my first question is, why Luge? How did you what drew you to it, and how did you find yourself going for Luge?
Gotcha. All right. So the way I started was this leads back to the question that Isaiah asked earlier of where I'm at today and what my story was, right? I actually, and in my 20s, okay, I've always been athletic, and I was telling you guys about my brothers and how we competed always against each other. And then I always excelled in athletics. It was just an extension of myself, right? So as I became a young adult, I was a very, very, very rapidly advanced young adult, I guess. I had my son when I was 16 years old.
Wow.
So she got pregnant when we were 15, had him when we were 16.
Wow.
And so graduated. I didn't have a senior year. I graduated a year and a half early, but I was always I went to school to play sports. You know, I was super jock then. Enjoyed everything about competing.
What was your sport at school?
Oh, I did football, swimming, and then I did the other sports such as basketball, some soccer, and things like that. But mainly my sports were then at that time was football and swimming. And swimming by far was the most challenging sport ever. You know, people thinking that it's recreational in some ways, but it is really tough. So that, and I didn't enjoy running, man. And I was a jock, and I didn't enjoy running. But then I started competing in triathlon. It was just about pushing myself, and then I learned the proper mechanics of running. And so I ended up enjoying it later on in life. But that's when, right before I turned 20. So I got involved in triathlon when I was about 18 years old, 18, and then competed for 2 years. And then I had an incident that cost me my freedom for over a decade. Okay.
Wow.
So I lost every privilege I ever had as a human being. So I was 21, just turned 21 years old.
Wow.
And then, so I didn't have any of my 20s out in the free world. I was 34, I think, when I came home for being incarcerated.
Yeah.
So I had to serve. I was facing a life sentence. And it was a situation that was politically charged with the authorities here in this city that I'm in now. And now I contribute to the community in various ways. And it's, it's,
well, yeah, sure.
different story now, but,
right.
Then I did not, I was never in trouble before. I had one raw incident, one bad, tragic incident, but I was still respectful in the situation. But just because who was involved, it turned really bad. It was blown out of proportion. And I got a raw situation handed to me. I was faced with a life sentence, and they gave me they ended up giving me a 14-year term with 85% of that. Wow. And so, it was really difficult to face, going to prison, like prison, all the movies and everything else. So it was challenging, man. It was really challenging to face that. And then, you know what? I don't know, by the grace of God, I know that there's a God, because I was really, everything happens for a reason, I believe, in my opinion, it's to perfect who it is that you are, right?
Right.
You could take it any situation and just say, hey, I'm a victim in it, or you're like, hey, I'm a champion through it. Right. And so for me, it's like, hey, this is conditioning to whatever's coming up, into my life.
Wow.
And so it was really amazing just to know that that everything is, contributing to who it is that I am. Okay. And then the saddest thing is for me is like everything that I lost my kids when I was incarcerated. And in addition to being incarcerated, it was just such a tough challenge just to know that their mothers, and I have two children. My son, which is now 27, my daughter's 23, and I just reconnected with her. And my son, it's, our lives, I believe, are coming together, and it's time for him and I to unite again, just like my daughter. And I had custody of my son and shared custody of my daughter at the time. And their mothers decided to marry, which is understandable. Awesome people, they're great, but they did a step parent adoption. So I lost every right to being a father when I was incarcerated.
Wow.
So on top of that, I mean, losing your freedom, you lose, your right to be a parent. That was really difficult. And my son was 5 years old. Excuse me, guys. 5 years old when I was incarcerated, and we were best friends, so it was really tough.
Wow.
My daughter was just a little bit over 1. And so we're reconnecting and, bridging everything back now. So a new discovery, which is phenomenal. For my situation in going through the incarceration was make the best of it. It's life.
Well, you actually moved on to one of the questions that I had for you. Obviously, lots of people find their experience very different, and some people even say it helped them. Would you say that your time with no freedom, do you think you found any sort of benefits from that or not?
Definitely, man. I would say it gives you some time to really reflect on yourself, because you can really touch both.
It's a long time as well. It's a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. And can you imagine doing that? Living, I always tell everybody when they ask me about how tough was it. I was like, hey, just go home, sit in their bathroom for an hour. Okay. Imagine sitting in your bathroom and you got a lush bathroom at that. You know what I mean? You got everything you need in there, right? And then sitting there for and then multiply that times 10 years plus, you know, then what do you got? You know, have somebody bring you your door. And so to me, it allowed me to make the most of the situation and then be let out from your bathroom and, hey, you got to survive amongst the world's worst. You know what I mean? And so that's the other challenging part is like, okay, what am I doing? And who's got what issue? You never know, right? So racially charged in when you're incarcerated. Everybody, you know, is in a gang. Everybody's siding on one group or another. For me, man, my incarceration is so different than anybody else's. And this will take, I mean, we could write books about it, but for me, I did it on my own. You know, I wasn't part of any racial group at all. I was from Argentina. There's nobody from Argentina incarcerated in the U.S. system that I encountered, really, except for one guy at the last part of my term, which was really cool. But you know, we don't align ourselves with like, hey, we're part of this clique or doing that, or we're part of this gang. And so I was really a lot of the time taken for being Caucasian. And so I had a lot of problems with the so-called whites, you know, incarcerated because they thought I was theirs and I didn't conform to their rules. And so I had to always check everybody, you know, when they try to check me, I was like, hey, man, I'm not, I don't participate in the prison nonsense, all the bullshit. I miss me with that. You know, that's what they said, you know? So I was like, that's not me, guys. You know what? You got a problem with me, you deal with me. So typically in prison, when somebody has a problem with an individual, they have a problem with the entire group of individuals. So it's never, hey, this guy deals with something. No, it's the whole entire gang. It's the entire race. It's the entire clan of people that get involved. You know, and when something happens in prison, everybody that's of that race has to get involved.
Yeah. Lucas, so I have a friend who's actually just going to be getting out after serving almost 20 years in prison. He was with someone who stabbed another guy, and he wound up getting part of the, he didn't even stab him. He just happened to be there. But anyway, I keep in contact with him. And as you know, my dad's a chaplain, and they, I messaged some guys in there and try to be an encouragement to them and send them letters back and forth. And he sends them back to me over Facebook. And I just have a question, like, what would your advice be to someone who's sitting in there who thinks that their life might be over, and who doesn't really see the light at the end of the tunnel?
This is what I say to everyone, man. Life is what you create, not something that just happens to you. You know, if you see yourself as a victim, then you're going to act as a victim. If you see yourself as a champion, you're going to act as a champion. The way you do one thing is the way you do all things. So accept the challenge. Your life is a challenge. And every day you're writing the story of your life. What do you want it to say about you? You know, I would pose that question. You know, make that statement and pose that question.
How do you keep from getting institutionalized? Because I think that some people go into prison like just as a with drug problems, whatever, and by the time they get out, they're so institutionalized, kind of like adopting back to society is almost impossible. Right. So,
it depends on their mental state. It really does in the sense that if an individual is in that, if they're of the mind frame of just narrow thinking about it's all just about the drug, or it's about their limitations. And I learned this recently. Whatever limits that you always pose on yourself, okay, you get to keep those limits if you, view yourself with those limits. Once you release those limitations, then you can actually move beyond them. And so for me, I learned this while I was incarcerated, which was identity produces destiny. And it's profound when you think about it. Is who you are is actually in life. You don't get what you want. You get what you earn. You get what you strive for. You get, that's what you're working towards. For me, up until 20, and then in my 30s was when I was released. How I faced that was with the attitude of life is what I make for myself. So even being incarcerated, I went to sleep with a smile on my face.
Wow.
It was dreadful. It was really, I don't wish it upon anyone. But number one thing is you got to create your life no matter where you're at. So that's what I would give to the advice that I would tell everyone. Number one, it doesn't matter if even in people's relationships now, and it's like, hey, you know what? It's what you got and what you make of it. So make the most of it.
So how'd you specifically, after you got out, how would you even think of getting into Luge? Like, what crossed your mind?
So when I was released, which was for me, I had to fight legally to obtain my freedom, and my mother helped me through the whole entire process. My family, which was really awesome. I did have that support base, and I had never been in trouble before with the law at all. I had never smoked a cigarette. I never did any drinking. I didn't do any type of drug in my life. To this day, I've never done a drug in my life.
Wow.
So about like, hey, I'm living a crazy life and I'm trying to get away with things. I had one incident that led to me losing my freedom. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it was politically charged, as I told you guys before. And I had to fight that every year. And all my attorneys told me, you do not belong in there. There's, you should be home, and we'll get you at this time. And that time never came. I had to really, I did all my time, 85% of the 14-year sentence that I was given. And I was faced again with a life sentence to start with. And then it was reduced to what I had to serve out. Nobody was hurt, in the situation. It was blown out of proportion, but still, I said the stupid things that I said. If you guys, that's for another interview when you guys want to get into that, because I can go on and on. I take accountability for my actions for, being immature,
Yeah. We've all been 20 before.
Yeah.
I was 20 for a decade.
I didn't have that decade. So, but when I was released, just about making a difference in the world. That was what my ambition was, and it is to this day. And always to, I hope to inspire. That's my mission is, like it inspires me. I hope that I can, definitely share that with individuals, with people, and let them know it's you're leaving your mark, man. Yeah. However you live your life, you're leaving your mark. That's your mark. What do you want to say? I think it would be so easy to just lose hope and to give up, especially after. I think I'd want to just kill myself. If that is literally like my worst fear in the world. So when people were okay, like with children being separated from their parents at the border, I was like, that is Isaiah Perez's biggest fear on this planet, is to be away from my daughter. So that's just amazing you were able to recover. But as far as your luge, we have a couple of questions we want to ask you about that. One, and I don't, this is going to sound really bad, but if I phrase it this way, but like, what kind of skill does it actually take if you're laying down? Are you able to control it to some degree, or? you actually have to control it to every degree.
It's complete luck.
It's luck. Don't die. That's what, Luca never dies. I would say I'm favored, and somehow, there's angels always with me, man.
Lucas, some may say that God's making up to you now.
So,
your injustices.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, the sport of luge, okay, people when they get involved in luge, they usually start out as really young teenagers, or even like the Germans start off when they're 8 years old,
Wow.
and they grow up in the sport, So to them, it's like the NFL, or it is, or football. You know what I mean? Like soccer, as it is in the UK. It's the number one sport. Or,
football. They call it football.
Yeah,
you gotta be culturally sensitive to
Adam.
Yeah,
football. Yeah, it's football.
Yeah. Football, definitely.
You kick the ball with your foot, guys.
Soccer,
but you kick a soccer ball, so that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, we don't. Thing is, we call it football, so we kick.
Yep.
That's why it's called football. So
yep. And in Argentina, we grew up. Like. Soccer is an English word. We're like, okay, we'll call it soccer. But everybody, and the funniest thing is probably one of my biggest sports is soccer. For me, man, I excel in every sport, and everybody thinks that hey, you're from Argentina, you got to be like Messi, you got to be like Maradona, you got to be like the number one player. So I'm like, you know what?
Great team, man. Great team.
Let's play volleyball, and I'll be that. I'm that right there with volleyball. I'm that in any other sport. But it comes to soccer, it's every sport takes such amazing skill to be on the professional level.
Us Brits always get worried when we're up against you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time.
Man, it's such a different game when you play at that level, and. And the thing is about Argentines, when I was there and I got endorsed by the Olympic Committee for Argentina, I went there, and then 2 o'clock in the morning, it's the craziest thing, people are playing football at that hour. Like,
wow.
They're competitive, and it's insane. Like, why isn't people asleep?
Eat, sleep, breathe.
They're playing football at the time.
Yeah,
and it's amazing how dedicated and how it's a part of their life.
So when you're laying down, is it a matter of shifting your weight, or is there any way you can physically?
So when it comes to luge, okay, it's everything. Okay, any little twitch, the way you breathe coming out of a corner impacts the going in, right, the direction. Wow. So if I look over. Any little body movement, okay, you actually shift your body to steer with your shoulders. You got some small handles that you actually just barely touch, okay? And then when you get in a hairy situation, you got to really pull on those. And then your legs press down on what are called kufens, okay? And the kufens are your steels, your runners, okay? So if you think of an ice skate, it's the steel that the ice skate is on, okay, that we have 2 of those.
So can you actually physically move these, or is it a body weight thing?
It's a body weight thing, and you can actually move them like this. So if you can imagine my hands, as this one lifts, this one's cutting the ice, you're going to go in this direction, okay? And vice versa. You lift this one's cutting the ice and going in that direction. And it also depends on the material of the steel, the type of the steel, the type of the sled. So in luge, there is some pillars that you have to know about, which is number one is athlete ability, right? Athletic ability for the athlete. What can they tolerate? How do they think? How do they deal on the sled? You got to steer. You got to steer. You got to be there. You got to have a good position. If you don't have a good position, if you guys today get in your car and you guys stick your hand out like this out of the window, on the freeway. Okay. You're going to feel less resistance, and you do this, your hand's going to go back.
Right.
And you're doing miles an hour. Imagine doing that at 90 miles an hour. Okay. So with any part of your feet got to be like this. Your head's got to be back. Your body's got to be streamlined. We're in this like skin tight suit. I'm going to try to pull some of this.
Looking
stuff.
good.
Looking dapper, mate.
You
Looking
know,
dapper.
like, and Jonathan and
Is there a
Fletcher.
particular name for the suit? Is it just a, you call it a suit or luge suit or?
It's a luge suit, so it's like a onesie. It's so funny, man.
You're like a little kid.
So you look like kind of a superhero. I'm gonna try to like, yeah. And then
you ever go to the bars dressed like that?
Yeah. Oh man, tell me about it. So I wanted to do something. So what we do is, which is really cool, that you have your jersey, you know, which has your name on it. And then your national flag, the country you represent. And so, and they also put your ranking on it, the numbers you're ranking. So, depending on the season, your seasonal ranking, sometimes it's lower, sometimes it's higher, depending on what you come in. So for me, this is one of them that I have. So typically what you have is your suit, your bag that you always take with you, your helmet. And I'll tell you about the funniest luge story, right? How I got involved in luge. So I was 37 and a half. And
wow.
Let me tell you guys, when you're 27 and a half or 27, anything in the late 20s, you're already considered a dinosaur in the sport.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So
you're right.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, it's like nobody would take me seriously. I tried out for the skeleton team in Park City, Utah. And I was 37 and a half. And I said, man, I know I'm world class. I know I got the spirit. I know I'm going to make it. And I went and tried out for it, right? I did the physical and the combine for skeleton because I thought, man, those guys, they just run. They throw themselves on the ice, you know, and they go 80 miles per hour. I'm like, that is so cool, man. And the helmets are really cool. And they look like superheroes, right? And I was like, I'm going to do that. And then so I went for it. I tried out for it. I went to Park City. And the cool story was that I made it. They gave me, they looked at my scores and they said, well, you can go to driving school. We'll put you to driving school. And that's the most important thing, is because you can be as athletic as you can be. But if you're scared of the speed, or you can't tolerate the velocity or whatnot, you're not going to make it. And on the world stage is, man, it's cutthroat. If you don't have what it takes, then they just brush you aside. You know, the country is trying to, put forth the best of the best.
Right. So I got two questions. You can ask them together, but what goes through your mind before you go down, and what's going through your mind while you're actually, because it takes about 1 minute. The course
50 seconds on
50
average.
seconds.
I mean, a really good time. So yeah, 52 seconds. And you're doing a mile-long track in 50 seconds. You know, so what goes through my mind, you know what? I'm so new to the sport, and it's the craziest thing that I never learned how actually dangerous it was. You know? So I was kind of naive to that. I'm just having fun, dude. I'm an old guy having a good time. You know, and everybody's terrified. I look at the athletes and they're just like, oh my gosh, this is the fastest track. Like,
and Lucas is smiling from ear to ear.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, faster the better. Let's go. You know? And so like, it's the funniest thing. So it's crazy. Every time I get on the tracks and everybody's like, oh, that's Luca, you know, and I'm there, and I'm first to go in Pyeongchang. I was one of the first runs. I was the first guy to go. And everybody's like waiting for me to like come back, and, you know, if I'm going to come back or not, you know, and different tracks the same. They're like, oh man, everybody's watching the TVs at the start houses. They're just, everybody's like, oh my gosh, she's going for it. And you got to go for it. So, when you guys, I don't know if you guys just how much winter sports you guys watch, but the giant slalom and stuff like that, you see those guys are just balls to the walls, just straight down, you know, as fast as
it's insane.
You know, and so luge is, you get up to 90 miles an hour. It's crazy, man. So you got to control every aspect of it.
So, you know, my company here in South Korea, Lucas, we were able to help a lot of people out, like medically, you know, because some people get into accidents or diseases or whatever. And so my company can make videos for them, for the clinics, and showing their before and after. So I'm able to help people get procedures that they normally can't get. They wouldn't be able to afford otherwise. So I gave away two trips to the Winter Olympics, and actually 2 people from Bakersfield wound up winning it. So but I'm looking to give away another 2 trips for the to the China Olympics, the Winter Olympics, because that's kind of like just a once in a lifetime opportunity that maybe may not ever happen again for someone. So I just
definitely. It's phenomenal. It's amazing. I mean, so what I tell everyone, it's, man, some opportunities only come once in a lifetime, you know, and so you got to seize the moment, go for it, you know. That I commend you, and think that's so amazing that you guys are able to do that for a lot of people that normally wouldn't get the chance. For me, I think it's a blessing, you know. I just have to live life to the fullest and just know that, hey, if I can contribute and inspire anyone, just being me, you know, that's my goal, is just to show that, hey, we're not ever going to be perfect, you know, but the number one person you're competing against is yourself. You know, nobody else really. I mean, unless you're in a sport that, hey, you get rewarded for doing better than somebody else. But at the end of the day, you're competing. Hey, were you better than you were yesterday?
Yeah. And on your way to China on the 2020 Olympic 2022, stop by, man. Korea, I'll make you look 5 years younger, just like that. So.
Well, thanks.
When you finally got your freedom back, the transition back into getting a job, things like that. How did you find that? And, you know, a lot of people struggle to even get a job. So, I mean, supporting yourself, how was that for you?
Yeah. So for me, I utilized my incarceration to achieve a lot of certifications in the health and wellness field. So I became a certified personal trainer. Let's see. I got certified in every sport to actually coach and actually develop athletes as well. Not just say, I'm watching you perform, but actually work the mechanics of every sport. So I got that frame of thinking done and behind me, and it's part of me to this day. You know, the science behind everything is the key. You know, preparation is where success actually lies. You know, you're rewarded on, you know, champions are achieved during the, you know, when nobody's watching. They're just rewarded when everybody else is, you know, at the end of the game. But so for me, number one is just what the transition was. It's great theory. Everything sounds great until you have to apply it, right? And so I'll give you just a funny scenario. Like, so I got picked up, you know, from prison with my mother came in to pick me up. That was my last day, and had my dress outs. I didn't even know if I was going to go home or not, you know, because of the situation of the prison situation. So I was just hoping that, hey, it was, over a decade later, I'm wondering, I was always told that I was going to go home at a certain time, never happened. So this was one of those other times I was like, okay, is it actually going to happen this time? And, you know, I was moved from an institution to another institution, and I was released, you know. So to me, I was like, okay, great, awesome. Got in the car, and my mother says, hey, do you want to drive? And I was like, sure. It was like the strangest thing to me. And I had been driving already in all of my life, you know? And so I actually got car sick driving, you know, and I oversteered. to make a turn, I was like a brand new kid again. Like, oh my gosh, I cannot drive right now, you know? And so it took me a little bit to get used to everything, man. I got car sick that time on the day of, we went out to breakfast. It was amazing. It was just the strangest feeling to be out in, with, you know, out in the real life civilization. So, it was phenomenal, you know, to me, it was just, wow. But that theory, you have to put it into practice, and, you know, you're going to make mistakes. And I made mistakes, and I was like, whoa, I got to take a step back. Let me relearn everything again. You know, I was social in there. And then, about my prison situation, I was able to transform my environment. You know,
Wow.
I was able to transform the prison yard. Okay. So which I did it in flip-flops, in shorts, you know, and everybody thought I was a surfer dude. And I was the toughest guy on the yard. I was the fittest guy. And they actually gave me, it was crazy when you guys want to talk about this. But we did competitions, Ironman competitions in there, and I won all. and the cops would wager, and then the inmates would wager, and it was like, really, they would wager their entire supply of commissary of whatever they had, you know, against me, all of them. You know, even the cops are, no way, the volleyball dude is gonna, you know, win. You know, that because I always. Yeah, so I had them like, give me a ball. Hey, give me a volleyball, because I kept the piece in there. So it was really awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I again, I did it in flip flops and board shorts. You know, just incarcerated, and then and which is, you guys hear flip flops, but in prison you're not allowed to wear flip flops on the yard. You have to be ready for battle, so that everybody's expected to wear their boots. You know, flip-flops are for the shower. That's it. So every day I was like, man, I don't pertain to any of your gangs. I don't, and nobody's got my back. It's just me by myself. So I respect you guys. Just respect me back.
Encouragement.
And
Yeah.
Lucas,
Go for it.
what is your training regiment? Because I mean, is that just like a seasonal thing that I saw you that one time? Well, actually, let me ask Adam a question real quick. Adam, do you guys have dryers in the UK?
Dryers? What do you mean, dryers?
Like for your clothes?
Oh, yeah, sure.
We do not have dryers. Oh, well, we don't have dryers in South Korea.
Yeah, we don't get much sun here, man.
Well, right. We don't have dryers in South Korea. So I was just gonna say, if your clothes are ever like wrinkled and you need to iron them, I'm making Lucas's stomach available, because that thing is flatter than an ironing board. Do you just do like 1,000 sit-ups every day, Lucas, or what?
No. So my training regimen, it's when you're on the circuit. So it depends on what team you're with, right? Because some teams are really emphasize being in the top shape. Other teams are like, hey, you know what? You guys are responsible for your own conditioning. For me, I'm with the international group, you know, usually, and which is amazing. This time around, I'm going solo. I'm going private. So I got private coaches.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm responsible for my own development, for every aspect of my success. So for me now, and I'm going to show you guys a few things here, and what I'm doing now to prepare for this season. And it's not just, hey, people think, oh, you just go to the Olympics. No, it's just, dude, you got to qualify. And then in luge, okay, typically like in the summer sport, you have the trials, right? Which is one event, one tournament, you know, where everybody shows up, the best of the best show up, and the top seeded group is who gets to go to the games, right? And luge, you have to compete over 5 races. So it's not just one race and who gets to go. You got to compete over 5, and it's a point system. And this year, because of COVID, I think it's a little bit more, and the rules have changed for us. And for me, because I have to really sit down with you guys and tell you guys about the entire story, which is so long. I mean, I know we used up a lot of time already, but how I got involved in the sport, 37 and a half years old, wanted to just make the Olympics and went out for skeleton. Ended up doing luge because US wouldn't take me seriously because of my age. They want, development. They want athletes that are, hey, you're not just going to do one Olympic cycle. We want you to do 2. That's 8 years, and if you're doing one, that's 4 years, and 4-year development, it's tough to do that in 4 years. It's done, but it's really tough, especially as somebody at my age that's like, no, we're not going to entertain that. Or so they told me.
Lucas, do you think your background might have influenced that at all?
I sent out all of my training. If you guys follow me on Instagram,
we'll put links.
Lucas Pouplin on Instagram or Facebook. You guys can see my training there and see some of my workouts. So physically just gifted, and so I'm better conditioned than 90% of the athletes that are on the circuit. That are half my age. So. And I've trained at all the Olympic training centers. And then, so just knowing that gives me a lot of confidence. But in addition to that, it's just, it sets me aside to be taken seriously, especially when people try to challenge you or think, oh, you're just old. And then they see you actually train and they actually see you perform. Okay. So I'm a newcomer to all the tracks. And I'm going from the very top, which it takes each athlete, taking them at least 4 years to get to the top. For me, I do it in a week. Hey, you do a few runs and you're at the top. And I got to do it, which is you're risking your everything. You're risking your life because you're at 90 miles an hour, right? So it's kind of like jumping out of your car at 90 miles an hour and seeing if you survive, if you crash. And ice is cold and hard, it's not soft and whatnot. So, for me, it's just about that. It's just showing what I'm capable of. And that's what I do in life. It's just, hey, I'm going to match who it is I am inside of myself to, my life on the outside. But you guys had some questions about my training regimens. So now, everything that I do, I'm driving down the road and I'm taking a curve on the on-ramp to the freeway. And I'm thinking about how I would steer this curve in luge.
Wow.
So you mentally prepare yourself at all times, right? For me, anything that I do, I just kind of visualize myself of how do I conduct myself in the situation. So it's always mental preparation for me physically. I'm conditioning. Even in the shower, I'll do some squats. I gauge the depth of my squat by how high the water hits me up on my shoulders. So I'm always just trying to always maintain that, in everything that I do. When it comes to my nutrition, I'm a cookie monster, man. You know what? I will say that I'm 90% always on point, and then that 10%, that sweet tooth gets me, man.
It's not a bad ratio.
Yeah. I'm kind of like the opposite. I'm kind of like the 10% good and 90% bad.
Yeah. So for me, always conditioning, always, growing up, it was always about proving yourself physically,
Wow.
And then incarcerated, that's the only thing that anybody knows incarcerated is physical. If you show that you're weak, then you're weak to everybody else and whatnot. And all they know is, hey, how strong you are physically. It's crazy. So to me, I was beyond that. I was like, man, this is just the surface stuff, man. And I trained everyone. I got to the point where I trained every single race, people on weight loss programs, people just to get in the best shape of their life right before they went home.
Wow.
And I did meal plans for everybody incarcerated. I did meal plans for everyone.
Wow.
When it was crazy when my family would come and visit me, I had everybody on workout regimens. And from the visiting yard, you can see everybody working out, right? And I said, these guys are going to do this. These guys are going to do that. And I was calling the shots already, everything about what everybody is going to be doing. They're like, how do you know that? I was like, they're all on my workout programs.
Yeah, that is amazing.
It was amazing, man. It was. And I know that I changed that environment, which is the worst environment to be in. So I know that, like, look, if you can do it someplace like that, you can do it anywhere.
Wow. Yeah. Adam, we got time for one more question.
Okay. Do you think that you might be able to help other young people that are coming out of prison to steer their life in a better direction? Do you think that may be something? Obviously, at the moment, your time's it's taken up by Luge, but later on, do you think that may be some a course you might take?
Yeah, right now that I've got to retract a little bit because I didn't get to answer the question. How tough was it to find employment? For me, we have a family ran business, which is physical therapy clinics. So I established 3 physical therapy clinics now,
wow.
Holistic health center, and a cafe, and a construction company myself. So all of that. So I manage all of that, and in addition to that, I've got to prepare myself to do Luge, right? So I got to juggle everything, and family life, right? With COVID is crazy. I got two amazing girls, a 17-year-old she acts like she's 17, but she's 15 right now. And then I have a 7-year-old that says, well, I'm basically 8. And my girlfriend's amazing. So I have to juggle all of that. And of course, none of that is easy. But with everything, I actually created a charity when I was incarcerated, which is a Luge project, stands for Learning Unique Creative Alternatives. Okay. And now after these Olympic Games, I plan to retire from the sport because it requires me to travel 6 months out of the year. I'm in a different country every week, training and competing. So now I just condition physically, and then when I'm on the circuit, we're on tracks, and you're just perfecting your runs. So after this Olympics, I will be retiring from the sport. Actually, I'm just announcing it to you guys now first.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing. But yeah, just to do that, have that behind me again, and just focus on just making a difference in the world a little bit more. So I firmly believe that I can definitely help people that have been in the situation such as mine, and giving them perspective, at least that. So what I did with the Luge project, it's a peer mentoring and outreach program teaching youth, teens, and young adults essential life skills.
Wow.
So it's everything you didn't learn in school, because in school it's awesome. Of course, you learn how to learn in school. That's what school does, right? But it doesn't teach you the life skills that you need.
Yeah,
you never learn finances. You never learn how to build community in school. You never learn how to overcome self-defeat, etc. Right? So we teach all those things.
Wow.
So I have a curriculum for that, and I hope to, after this year, I will just focus and dedicate myself to that. Yeah.
One thing I love about South Korea is that they take some tests early on, and so if you don't score high enough, like to get into like a college, then they'll send you to like a high school where after you graduate, you already have a trade learned. So it's you know what I mean? Whether it's hair or computer designing, fashion, and so you don't really get that in America. Kind of, you graduate 18, everyone's expected. So it's really, you know, it's really not a good thing. But
the difference to your life that you've made in your life, I mean, you're a real inspiration, mate. And I want to commend you on, you know, not just what you've achieved since you got your freedom back, but what you achieved through that process. Because I mean, for anybody to lose that much of their freedom, it doesn't bear to us even thinking about it. So a real inspiration to me, and it's really good to meet you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mate means friend, by the way, and across the pond. So that's the easiest thing. He's saying friend.
I just want to thank you guys for having me. I look forward to hopefully we just develop a friendship out of it. You know what I mean? So with Adam and Isaiah, I know I'm going to know you for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we get Adam and we can take some holiday together someplace around the world. I will say this, you know, on the last note for anyone is own it. That's it. You know what I mean? Everybody just own it. Own your life. Own who it is that you are and make the most of it. That's your stamp. That's your mark, you know? So I thank you guys for allowing me to express a little bit of myself and share that with you guys. Last thing I want to show you guys, which is really cool. Okay. Can I do this real quick? This is my helmet.
Yeah,
it's not
please.
Such a cool helmet, right? If you guys follow my, this is the only protection that we have. There's no protection in this suit at all. It's just, you know,
just your six pack.
Tight,
your
like,
six pack.
yeah, you can't see it through here, but anyhow, yeah, this is it, man. 90 miles an hour wearing this. So this is really cool. So I met one of my really cool buddies. Okay, he's a 6-time Olympian, Shiva from India. Okay, I think you met him one way or another, Isaiah. Okay, This is his jersey, and guess what? He's going to be my coach this season.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're going to go on the road together on the tour. He's going to be coaching me. And then I've got another awesome coach. They call her an old timer, but she's been around. She slid for Team USA. Cynthia White, amazing person. So these guys are going to coach me. I got to go at it by myself on my own. Because now the rules are they won't entertain anybody that's 25 years or older because they want a development out of the athletes, you know? So for me, of course, I'm 44. I'll be 45 at the games. If they're still scheduled, we're waiting to see what Tokyo does, to see if we're still going to be on track for that. So I just got this right here just came. Right now, yesterday, I haven't even opened it. These are my wheels for my sled. I wish I got to bring my sled here and show you guys next time if you guys want to do another interview. This is from Romania. Yeah, my coach from Romania.
Wow.
Just sent these to me. So, which is really cool. So these are our shoes, our Luge shoes. You know, they're already come pointed, so you got to point your feet, right? Aerodynamics.
So Adam, does the UK put any kind of emphasis on like rehabilitation in the same way as some of the Norwegian countries, such as Norway, where it's really the prison system is based on rehabilitation?
That's a very good question. I do have a friend in the prison service, but she doesn't have many positive things to say about it. I don't think it does rehabilitate as much as it could. There's so many problems in our prison service and in most with drugs, and it just makes you wonder how they could even get drugs.
Right.
Just because, as you say, it's a rehabilitate or supposed to be for rehabilitation as opposed to punishment. So how they can continue down that road as a user is just beyond me. Yeah, good.
Well, I want to end off with this thought that a lot of Christians have this idea that they just want to lock these criminals up and throw away the key, and they want to see them punished harshly or even for the death penalty. But the truth is that as Christians, if God were to do have the same kind of standards that we use for other people, one, we would be dead, and two, even if we were alive, he wouldn't take the time to spiritually rehabilitate us. And for me, I've been on a spiritual rehabilitation journey, and hearing Lucas's story has been like, I'm going to be thinking about this for the next few days. Just the amazing power of it to transform wherever you're at. I'm getting chills just thinking about it right now. But, I really want to thank you, Lucas, for joining us today. And I think it's a very powerful message. I really hope someone who's maybe in the prison, well, maybe not in the prison system right now, someone who's maybe has gone through the prison system, and maybe they're not thinking that they have, the opportunities in the future, that they can take a look at your story and say that, really the sky is the limit if you apply your mind and you believe that you can do it, and that, man, you can transform your environment wherever you are. That was probably the most powerful thing that you had to say this whole time, Lucas. So I really want to thank you for that. And we look forward to doing another round too, because I have a lot more questions I want to ask. What about you, Adam?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think we barely got halfway through, mate.
Right.
What a story. Absolutely. As you say, it's funny doing these podcasts because you have a perception of, what to expect, and they completely flip you over.
Right.
And as you say, I hope that others can take. I mean, I've certainly taken something from this, so yeah. I hope that others can as well.
Yeah. So with that being said, we want to thank you for joining us today at RG Podcast. We look forward to seeing you back again. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and share this video with someone, because there is someone who needs to hear this and needs to hear that you can transform your life and you can turn a negative into a positive. In math, all it takes to take a negative into positive is a simple strike down. And sometimes in life, it's a lot harder than that. But just simply changing your mindset, you would be surprised how much that can do and how much that'll move you in the right direction, just to stop and change your mind first. So we look forward to seeing you back at the next episode of RG Podcast. Bye.